Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media. And today I am excited to bring to you Zachary Bernard, who is the founder of We Feature You PR, a public relations company that helps individuals and businesses establish themselves as thought leaders through press, podcasts, and TV appearances. Since its inception, We Feature You PR has worked with hundreds of clients, securing features in major publications like Forbes, Entrepreneur, and USA Today. Known for his strategic approach to media, Zachary has been featured in outlets like Entrepreneur, Business Insider, and Yahoo Finance, demonstrating his expertise in leveraging media platforms to drive visibility and grow for his clients. Welcome, Zach.
Really excited to be here, Ida. Thank you for having me on.
I am so excited to have you. I love the name of your company.
Thank you. I thought it was pretty representing of what we do. We feature people. So,
Yeah. So let's talk about what that looks like.
yeah, for sure. So, I started the company around like 3 years ago. And what we really focus on, as you've mentioned, is helping our clients become like thought leaders, like experts. So, there's like a few ways to like build social proof. You can obviously do so by doing great work for your clients, of course. And then there's the component of you're able to build a brand, like build social proof by being seen as like an expert. And then the other layer is getting like third party validation. So we were speaking earlier about like TV, like podcasts and stuff like that. That is like another somewhat like vehicle where you can get on these like platforms, and by speaking on things that you're an expert on and being seen as an expert, you can somewhat build like that thought leadership expertise. So that's like what we specialize in. And then over like the past few years, we've basically built relationships with journalists, contributors, podcast hosts such as yourself, and like various other people. And yeah, it's been definitely an interesting ride so far.
Yeah, so let's talk about okay, of course I have a podcast. So, and in the early years, it was tough. It was hard to find people to interview, all of that.
I agree.
We was ready to interview your grandma just to have somebody on your show.
Yeah.
So how do you help companies to kind of like maneuver through that startup period?
Yeah, that's like really interesting because when we work with like companies, there's obviously companies that are like already established, like they have that expertise. It's obviously easier to do so. But when you work with like startups, it's about finding the like those unique components of like what they do, what makes them different. Because anyone can be interesting. It's really just about like how you present it and like how you frame it. So typically, like when we look at like a startup, most of the time we will actually somewhat look at the founder, like the person that runs the company, and we'll look at their background. Because oftentimes, someone that does a startup, they might actually have like an interesting background that we're able to like leverage to make the company sound more interesting. Because a
Mhm.
lot of the time, most like founders, CEOs, it obviously depends, but they are going to be the face of their company. And if we're able to focus on the founder, talk about his experience, we're able to like somewhat intertwine that within like the company. So people associate that expertise, that person that hopefully they like to the company. So it somewhat helps like build like the reputation, their brand. So I would say that's like the usual approach, but definitely starting to get like your digital presence out there, like making sure that you actually have social media, you have a website. You'd be surprised. I speak to some people, they don't even have a website in like the first place. You can't find them. You were saying that like earlier, that like it is sometimes like a bit hard to find some people. Some of them don't even use social media whatsoever. So within like these times, like I feel it's pretty crucial to have that presence. Like if you don't have it, people want to know who you are. And if they can't find you, they're probably going to go work with someone else, in my experience.
Yes, I have to agree with you. You cannot, under any circumstances, be in this industry and not utilize social media and not have a website. You
Yeah,
cannot.
it's a bare minimum at least.
Yes, exactly. Something. Because people going to Google you. I mean, now, when they're looking to do business, they're going to put your name in and Google you.
Yep.
And if nothing comes up, it's like,
Next. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Wow. So let's talk a little bit about how you work with agencies who want to, really expand their visibility companies.
Mhm. Like when we work with companies, basically, like clients.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I would say like the first thing that we do is like when we start working with a client, we somewhat want to understand like their current like positioning. Like what are they doing marketing wise? What are they doing like branding wise? And the first step is obviously going to be to make sure that they can be found on social. They can have a website. You can find them. We obviously just spoke to that, but making sure that we have like that bare minimum like infrastructure that people can find them. And then this is where afterwards we somewhat want to build like their presence, build like that narrative. And what I mean by narrative is like when you're doing press, you're doing podcasts, anything like that, you're able to control how people perceive you by controlling like what you're putting out there, obviously. So what we want to do is figure out exactly what is actually going to resonate with like their potential clients. What kind of content should we be putting out? And oftentimes, like one of like the first things we typically try to do as well is get like a few articles out there that is more like an introduction to the founder, the company, who they are, what they've done. And once we have that baseline, we typically try to focus some more on like the thought leadership component. And by thought leadership, what I mean is finding topics that a client is like an expert on that they can speak to for like ages. For like your case, it could be media, for example, it could be podcasts. If
Mhm.
if I have like a client that works in like the recruiting space, like we could have that client speak on like interviewing practices, hiring practices, making sure you have like the good infrastructure. And the point with that is to be able to convey that they actually know what they're talking about. Because if you can obviously have like all this experience, but if no one knows about it, it's not really going to do anything for you. So we want to be able to convey that expertise in like a really easy to understand manner. But second, like it needs to be out there. Like people need to be able to find it. And once you have that, it also build like that reputation. We were speaking about like social proof like earlier.
Mhm.
So when you get into like the press, I would call that like third party validation,
Mhm.
where it's like a publication, an author, a journalist, somewhat praising you for like what you've done, your work, your expertise, as
Mhm.
opposed to being like first person saying me publishing like a blog post about something. Like I can speak about myself, but if someone speaks about myself highly, it's a reputable publication. It's like, okay, this person actually knows what they're talking about, as opposed to the person just writing like a blog post, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes, yes. I absolutely get it. It's like you're being edified by a third party.
Exactly. It
Yes,
makes definitely the job easier to like sell yourself because you're not technically selling yourself. It's someone else selling for you in like a way.
yes,
And I guess like going back to like you were mentioning when someone like searches you up, like if there's nothing that shows up, like right there, that's red flag number one. When
yeah,
you get like articles, you get press, etc., like it helps with like SEO. Whereas if someone searches you, these like articles, press, etc., they show up. And again, first impressions. If someone sees that you've been featured in all these publications, you've been on podcasts, you've been on TV, because it pops up the first thing when they search, automatically you're going to make that assumption, okay, that's this person actually knows what they're talking about. And you're going to get to that next phase in the funnel where they're actually going to look at what you're doing. They're going to be interested in you versus just looking your name up, not finding anything, and then saying, okay, next person there.
yes, absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
let me ask you, how do you get featured in like some of the major magazines and things like that?
Mhm. I
How?
would say, yeah. So it really like depends. So we have like clients that have had press like in the past where they've been in major media publication. It could have been like organic where they had like a big event and there were like some random journalists that reached out. We're able to somewhat leverage the fact they've been featured in the press before to like go to like other contributors, journalists, publications, saying like, hey, like I have this person. They've actually been in all these places. I think they could be interesting for you. But if we touch more onto like the startup world, like you were saying like earlier,
Mhm.
oftentimes we will have to start with like smaller publications, like smaller platforms, etc. And the reason behind that is they don't already have that expertise built. They don't have that profile built. So we
Mhm.
somewhat have to slowly build that out. And then as we get more press and more coverage, then we can go to like the major, like bigger publication. You
Okay.
can try to go for it like directly, but you're probably not going to make it happen or get into these publication without some of that like structure built into place first.
Yeah. So, start small and work your way up, so to speak. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So do you help people to get into publications, whether it be the small or the large ones?
Yeah, I mean, like as far as clients, we do work with like smaller, larger clients. Like we do help them get into like any publications. I would say that one of like the first thing that like I would consider though is if you're like a small company, you're still working on like your product, you still haven't found like market fit or anything like that. I wouldn't try to work with a PR firm like us. Like the first thing I would try to do is focus on that first. And then if you have like very limited like marketing budget, what you should probably be doing is perhaps like hire someone in-house to try to like pitch you slowly, like work your way up. And
Mhm.
like I've said this in like other interviews, but are tools such as like Hero, Featured. Not sure if you're familiar with these, Ida, but they are basically platforms where journalists, contributors are gonna ask for like quotes for like from people on like certain topics, and you're
Mhm.
able to literally answer those like for free. Like I've used some of those platforms myself, and I've
Yeah.
landed features in like Entrepreneur, Grid Daily, and like some major media publication, and I didn't pay anything. I just had to find these good opportunities, have a really good answer, and I got some free coverage that way. So I'd say if you're a small business, start that way, and then are you going to be guaranteed to actually get coverage out of that? No. Is it worth your time if you're just starting off? Yes. And then as you build your company and you want more like guaranteed exposure, then I would consider working with a PR firm that has those relationships built. But I wouldn't jump into it right away if you don't have that marketing budget or if you're still focusing on your product.
Okay. And let me write that down. So what was the companies that you can do? Because I need that
Yeah.
myself. I know LinkedIn has it, but
Yeah.
I
So like the first one is called Hero. I think they've actually rebranded into Connectively, if I'm not like mistaken. But if you
okay.
just search HARO, it should be like the first thing that pops up on Google. And then the other one is featured.com, another great platform that we've used, and we've landed like a ton of like quotes, mentions, and articles. So definitely
Okay.
worth checking out.
Well, that's my homework.
You should try it. I'm sure you'll
Yes.
get some placements there.
Yes, because I've done it on LinkedIn. I get from time to time they will send me something to talk about different topics, and I actually
Mhm.
been doing that on LinkedIn. So
Oh yeah.
I didn't know any other companies because now you've brought my antennas up to start doing that. So if
Yeah.
companies want to work with you, how do they reach out and connect?
I would say the best place is going to be LinkedIn. I'm on there every single day. If you just
Okay.
search up my name, Zachary Bernard, or you can always just go to our website to refeatureyou.com. There's a link to book a call if you ever want to speak with us.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Yes, because being in the podcast, TV business, any kind of thing like that, it's difficult because you're up against the giants and all of the different people that are out there building like you're building. So
Mhm.
it's like flooded with different, I mean, so
Agree.
being able to be seen and rise above the noise, so to speak, is huge. And
Mhm.
you've given us some. I'm definitely going to check these spots you gave me. And
Yeah.
what else can and companies do to help them rise, grow their business and get the recognition of the work that
Mhm.
they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, like as we mentioned, there's obviously going to be that component of like sharing like first person, like about like yourself. But one of like the first thing, if you're trying to, I guess, gain exposure and like build your thought leadership profile, I would first just look at like creating content on like your social. Like it sounds simple. Everyone is probably giving that advice, but I'd
Okay.
say that's the first thing I would look at doing, because if you're pushing out content, it's going to expand beyond like your audience. Like if you just look at LinkedIn as an example, if
Mm-hmm.
someone shares it on their profile, it goes onto their friend's profile, and then it's like a snowball effect. So
Mm-hmm.
first thing I would do, if you're a founder of a company, I would try to create a founder brand or personal brand where you focus on yourself, you speak on topics you're an expert on, and then from there you can obviously weave in like your company. That's definitely the first thing I would do. But
Mm-hmm.
second, like as mentioned, make sure you have all your social. It's going to be really important. And there's like a lot of platforms that I would recommend just like signing up because they rank like really heavily in like SEO, such as like Crunchbase. I think there's another one called F6, About.me. They're all like platforms with like a high domain authority that we call it. But it helps that if someone searches your company name, they search your name, these all pop up and you're able to control what is actually showing up. And again, it's controlling that narrative, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Okay. Okay. Yes, this is awesome. I am really, really, because media is tough. It is
Oh
tough,
yeah. It's competitive. That's what
very,
it is.
very competitive. And now let's talk a little bit about AI. And
Mm.
how do you incorporate that in the media space?
Mhm. No, that's really interesting because I feel like AI has been thrown around like so much, or
Yeah.
like everyone is saying like, hey, we have like this AI methodology or something like that, and a lot of people are just using like Chat GPT just to help write like an email or something like that. So I would say like for us, like we've been playing around with like a lot of like automations, AI. When we're looking at press, I would see it more as a way to like create structures, like outlines for like articles, get an understanding like how we want to like structure it, and then our team can obviously collaborate with journalists, contributors to make sure that it fits like their guideline. But we're able to just be more efficient. Like I don't see AI completely replacing people, but I see it being more efficient in helping us just move faster, do things way easier at a larger scale. So we've used it for that. And I would say from a like strategy perspective, like we've created like templates that we can use based on clients to come up with strategy to like present them based on their use case, what kind of clients they're working with. So it's been really helpful from that side of things. And then we have, I mean, I use it every single day. I have like a random question, not even business related. I'll just go ask it a question, see
Yes.
if it can help me with my problem.
Yes. And sometimes what I find with AI is it helps my creativity juices. It's like
Yes.
I want to talk about something, but I might not know how to actually structure it.
Hmm.
And if I put it out on AI, I'm like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I need. And then what
Yeah.
I do is edit it and throw me in.
Yeah, you had like your personal touch, but it adds like a bit of creativity. But I would say like again, I think it just expands like the creativity you already had that you
Yes.
weren't able to just quite get it right. And
Right.
again, just makes your job easier. That's really just what
Yes,
it
it
is, in my
does.
opinion.
It really does. I mean, when they came out with that, well, it's been out for a while.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but now it's just becoming widespread because
Yeah, it's become mainstream.
people have realized it takes a load off.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
For sure. So what is your website? What is it again?
It's going to be wefeatureyou.com. So
Okay.
it's literally wefeatureyou.com.
Okay.
As simple as
And
that.
on LinkedIn,
I think
it's
I don't remember the exact URL, but I know it's Zach B. But if you just search up my name, Zachary Bernard, I don't think there's that many people with my exact name. So it shouldn't be too hard to find, I hope at least.
yes, 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 indeed. Wow, I'm just trying to make sure I ask all the important questions because I'm in the media space and I'm growing, and every day I'm doing something to move the needle further
Mm,
to where I'm trying to go. And, my whole goal is to bring people like yourself that are able to educate, inspire, and empower people with their
Mhm.
expertise. So
Yeah.
I like edifying other people.
Yeah, and I mean, I love what you're doing because, like, when you think about like bigger like publications, platforms like the Forbes, US Today, or like millions of people, like some of them can be like hard to reach. But once there's like people giving opportunities like other people to just share their message out in the world, help more people educate, I feel like that's something that we definitely need more. Like being able to give the chance to people to just speak their mind and help other people, honestly.
Yes, yes, yes. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, to
There you
help
go.
other people.
That's the goal.
Wow, Zach, this has been amazing. You are the bomb.com, to say the least.
Appreciate that, Ada.
And I appreciate you taking time. I know you're busy. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to
Of course.
join on my platform. And audience, I know I had my pen out. I hope you had yours out.
Just over here. Always have a pen.
Yes, always, because Zach definitely dropped some nuggets on us today. And right after this, I'm gonna go do my research.
I appreciate having me on it.
Thank you, Zach. Appreciate you.